Welcome to The Print. I'm Amana Begam Ansari. As the years comes to an end, it's the perfect time to look back, not to count how much I wrote, but to sit with what it all meant. Writing week after week, I moved through conflicts, controversies, injustices, silences, and the moments of uneasy hope. Each article felt urgent in the moment. In hindsight, that urgency shifts into reflection. What did we speak about repeatedly? What remained unresolved? What truth were too uncomfortable to stay in headlines for long? Before writing the final piece of the year, it feels necessary to look back at what stood out, what lingered, and what we collectively choose not to see. Amid all the headlines, the shouting debates, and the endless political distraction, one reality stand out for me, which was most sharply and ironically, uh, I have barely wrote about it, and that was the climate crisis, global warming, the slow, relentless unraveling of the world we live in. It's not absent because it is insignificant. It has become normal. Heat waves that kill fruits, that erase livelihood, winter that arrive late or not at all. These are no longer treated as emergencies, but kind of inconvenience. In India, especially where millions live at the mercy of monsoon, heat, and agriculture, climate change should have been at the center of every conversation. But that is not the case. And think about it, rising heat is now claiming one life every single minute across the globe. And if you talk about only India, so in India, 4,064 people have perished in just 9 months. We also face 4.2% of global economic loss due to extreme weather events. And yet, does this make, make the headlines? No. The debate, the sense of urgency it deserve, does we see that? No. And these aren't isolated disaster. This is the slow creeping toll of extreme weather already showing its bite, and it's only the beginning. But instead of waking up to a crisis, somehow for us it feels like it becoming the new normal. What worries me most is the acceptance that this is just how things are now, that temperature will rise, water will run out, air will choke us, and we will simply adjust. When a crisis stops shocking us, it stops mobilizing us. And that perhaps is the most dangerous phase of all. Cities crossing 45, 50 degrees Celsius, workers collapsing on road, on construction site, election held in sharing heads, schools shutting down, water tankers becoming lifeline in metros. What this heat wave reveal is that global warming in India is no longer a future threat or an environmental issue. It is governance crisis, a labor issue, a public health emergency, and still a quiet culling of those least equipped to escape it. Somehow we are not taking it with the seriousness it we should. And climate experts also have been warning us for the years that by 2050, India will be amongst the first places where temperature will cross the limit of human survivability. Yet, what we rarely discuss is the nature of the heat India faces. It is just not the heat wave, it is just heat trapped inside humidity. The kind of heat where sweat no longer cools the body, where even a healthy person cannot survive outdoors for long. This is what wet bulb temperature measures, and it is far more dangerous than dry heat alone. The survey in India already showing that over 70% of Indians have experienced severe heat waves, drought, water shortage, and suffocating air pollution in recent years. This is a live reality now. And if you zoom in, the climate crisis in India is also a class crisis. And nowhere is this clear than in the lives of workers. Heat does not fall equally. For those who can afford air conditioned room, flexible work hours, and healthcare, rising temperature are an inconvenience. But for the daily wage laborer, construction worker, sanitization worker, farmer, street vendor, heat is a direct threat to survival. Missing a day of work because the body cannot endure 45 degrees means missing a day's food. There is no paid leave for climate collapse for them. So, climate change in this sense is not just melting glacier, rising seas, it is extracting labor from bodies already pushed to their limits, quietly deciding whose lives are expendable and whose comfort will be preserved. At the same time, India's position in this crisis is similar. It's deeply paradoxical because we are not among the historical giants of carbon pollution, yet we stand on the front line of its consequences, exactly like the labor class. Like they are not the one who are using the air condition, but they would be the first affected. This gives a responsibility to play a firm diplomatic role and push the world's biggest emitter out of their comfort zone. Climate action can no longer be treated as a charity or goodwill. It is a legal, moral, and survival obligation. For countries like India, it strengthens the case we have long made that development and climate justice cannot be separated, and that those who profited most from industrialization must carry a proportionate share of the burden. There were many notable events in 2025, but sometimes it is what slips through the gaps that is the most important. In a media cycle driven by the latest outrage, we must pay attention to the threats of the future and demand they be solved before it's too late. The vulnerable in India are already paying the price for climate change. If not addressed, it will lead to a cascade of even more devastating and unpredictable consequences, social, economic, and political. Let's make sure this is addressed before it's the only headline. For more video, keep watching The Print.